Okay, let's go. Three, two, one. Um, Jessica Vaughan from Center of Immigration Studies. We're going to be talking about the influx of the Cuban refugees crossing the border through Texas. It seems like we've seen the numbers build up here in the past year. Can you explain what you saw on your recent trip to Texas?
Yes, the numbers are building up. Some of the folks that we talked to in Laredo think that there could be as many as 40,000 Cubans who arrived this year who are going to be released into the country as refugees or asylees, and most of them are coming through Laredo. Actually, more Cubans are arriving in the United States through the land port of entry in Laredo than are coming to Florida, which is many people think of as the traditional destination for Cubans. And they're coming because since the United States relaxed the ability for people to send money to their relatives in Cuba. Now more people have the funds to get out, fly to another country in Latin America, make their way up to Mexico, and the Mexican government basically waves them through so that they can show up at the U.S. port of entry over one of the bridges into the United States. And as long as they can establish that they are Cubans, they are released into the United States and immediately have access to refugee resettlement grants and welfare benefits. They don't have to prove that they are persecuted or oppressed, or even that they've been living in Cuba recently. All they have to do is show a Cuban passport, and they are welcomed and put on the path to citizenship in the United States.
Okay, do you have a dollar amount of approximately what their yearly stipend? How much money are taxpayers putting out per person per year? Do you know that?
I don't know the per person per year amount, but they get, for starters, $1,800 for a resettlement grant. They are allowed to get food stamps, temporary aid to needy families. They get job training assistance, language classes, subsidized child care, and health care benefits, and anything else that states would like to provide them with. Right from the minute they set foot over into the United States, they can sign up for these programs.
Now, is there any kind of restrictions for them? Because I did a little research on this, and it seems like a fair amount of them are actually sending a lot of money that they're getting here from the U.S. taxpayer back to Cuba. And in some cases, these people are resettling and actually keeping their homes in Cuba and having it paid for by the taxpayers. Have you heard anything about that?
Yes, apparently that is occurring where they will collect their benefits and then go right back to Cuba where they can live more cheaply, even though this is supposedly the country where they were oppressed and persecuted. That was the basis for us letting them come to the United States. But they're taking this money that they're getting from taxpayers and from government programs back to live off of it in Cuba. I don't know how frequently that's happening, but it certainly is happening.
Okay, now if obviously this is based on a 1966 law, the wet foot law, dry foot law, I believe. Now, is there something Congress can do? Would there be any kind of avenue for Congress to take this up to clearly highlight that they're now abusing these privileges that they're getting because they're no longer necessarily oppressed in Cuba?
Well, yes, there is legislation that's been introduced by two Texas lawmakers that would eliminate the welfare benefits, but not their ability to come here and live permanently, getting political asylum. But here's the thing: in years past, when Cubans would show up on our doorstep on the land borders, the policy of the government was to say, okay, here's an appointment date where you can come back for your interview to see if you qualify for political asylum and can show that you personally were persecuted. You're going to have to stay in Mexico until the day of that appointment, and then we'll decide if we're going to let you in if you qualify. Now, the policy of the Obama administration is to say, to just basically rubber stamp their entry into the United States, even if they're coming with false documents or no visa or whatever. They're allowed to show up and be essentially waved into the country and start immediately collecting these benefits. They don't have to actually prove that they were persecuted.
Okay, now This is assuming now that we've opened up our travel arrangements with Cuba. I have a friend that's actually going next week. And so we essentially have an embassy there in Cuba. Now, what would cause Congress not just to actually rescind that law? And if there are in fact political prisoners from Cuba that are seeking asylum, could they not apply under the current U.S. law for political asylum? Is that something Congress could do?
Yes, absolutely. If they can show that they have been persecuted or have a fear of persecution, they would qualify for political asylum. We have the systems in place to do that. But even the Cuban government is pretty upset about this program because they feel that that it's causing a brain drain from Cuba. I mean, a lot of the people who are coming are professionals. I spoke to one man who had been living in Ecuador for a few years working as a computer programmer who just wanted to come take advantage of this opportunity now. But we have the systems in place to protect people who are genuinely persecuted. But the vast majority of the people who are coming seem to be opportunistic economic migrants wanting to join family members or friends or take advantage of the fact that they can get started here with help from U.S. taxpayers. It's not really the same kind of need to protect people from oppression that may have existed decades ago.
Okay.
In the 60s and 70s.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Jessica. I will call you on the other side here, okay? Thank you so much. Bye.
Great. Bye.